Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, Harun.
Thanks for coming. What I will do is I briefly set the agenda for the conference right now. I am Ashwin Srivastav. I am the CEO of Sapio Analytics. Sapio is a government advisory firm. We work with various governments in India, and we are working with them right now for the fight against COVID-19. We are providing uh, decision support system to governments at different levels. We also work on providing advisory on various protocols to different government bodies. Uh, what I will do is that I'll quickly set the agenda for the day. What I will initially introduce the hosts for the evening, and then we'll take around 10 to 15 minutes to talk about the invention which we have done, and then we will basically open the floor to questions, and we can have any types of questions. We will open the floor accordingly. So, being part of the government, being part of this advisory which we are running, we know the problem, the biggest problem which India is facing right now. At the end of the day, the biggest problem is COVID-19, and the solution to fight this problem lies in its treatment. We are working for a number of things with respect to decisions, lockdown, etc., and those are all very critical in the journey. But when it comes to solving the problem from its roots, what is extremely critical is the treatment. There is nothing else more critical than that, and that's exactly what we are going to talk about today. We have been able to create an innovation, and I'll introduce you to the innovators, which is basically able to provide a treatment for COVID-19 in a much more accessible manner than any other treatment which is available at the moment. The best thing about this particular treatment is that it has actually been tested and successfully reported as well. So we have seen recovery happening. We'll talk about the amount of recovery. We'll talk about the numbers over there as well. And we have seen this recovery happening from outside India where we have done trials. And now this treatment is what we are bringing to India. Uh, uh, we genuinely believe that this is something which can change the future of COVID-19 in India. The biggest problem can be removed, can be sorted out, can be solved, and yeah, and I think the solution which we are going to talk about, since it is extremely unique in nature, as well as something which has already been uh, implemented and has seen results, it will be very interesting to talk about this. We have got a number of partners with us. So basically, I'll quickly give you the background. About 1.5, 2 months ago, uh, uh, our partners at EMA, European Medical Association, they started working on this solution. They started working and they were able to create something interesting. They were able to find patients to basically do a trial on as well. And that's how we were able to come to what we are going to talk to you about now. So we have got Dr. Al Jaziri here. He is the inventor of the device, which is a very critical component in the invention. We have got Dr. Amina Athar and Dr. Sunil Nayak here, who are from EMA, European Medical Association. They're part of the umbrella over there, and they have been critical in doing this since the past 1.5 months, 2 months rather, and they have been active. They are the ones who are leading the entire research. We have got Dheeraj Jain and Rakesh Maurya from Redcliffe, who are the clinical partners for this entire process. And then I'll ask Dheeraj to take over now and talk about the invention in a bit more detail.
Yeah, thank you, Ashwin, and thank you everyone to join on a short notice. As Ashwin said, I mean, I think we are living in a very, very unprecedented time, and science and technology have larger responsibility than ever before to come out with solutions on a very, very short notice, and then obviously able to clinically be successful as well before it goes for the mass implementation. The scientific team here is not doing this for the very first time, and Dr. Al Jaziri and Dr. Amina Athar uh, know this subject very, very well, um, um, and we would provide their backgrounds more in detail in the press release. But what we can do right now is a little bit talk about the technology, and then also talk about why it's so different from, or why it's so more important right now, from all what you're hearing in the media about plasma therapy. I mean, this is an additional part of the plasma therapy. This is more add-on, combined with ion exchange, combined with our device, which is very proprietary right now. And then obviously with other vitamin, herbal, and other things combined, gives an outcome which never been seen before. We'll talk about a little bit on the clinical data we have so far. And we'll also talk about how we intend to take it to this India in a sort of very regulatory, within the regulatory framework. And why don't I ask Rakesh Maurya, who's my partner at Reclif Life Sciences. By the way, Reclif Life Sciences have been a molecular diagnostic company, but given what has happened in the COVID, we've also been developing loads of different solutions. So we've been genome sequencing the COVID strain. We've been doing the COVID testing lab in UP. And then we've been obviously working on the various testing kits and testing solutions. But when it comes to therapeutics, we know any of the drug discovery would take its own time. And we've all been very unsettled and very restless for last several weeks. What is one thing which we can bring it to the country, which would obviously help on the treatment? And we went back to pharma and non-pharma. We said pharma would have its own time, but let's look non-pharmaceutical solutions. And then the plasma therapy is what we thought is, with the ion exchange, could make a very, very big difference. So why don't I let Rakesh a little bit introduce the technology, and then the format for now would be Rakesh would have Dr. Amina, Dr. Sunil Nayak, and Dr. Alziri on a panel to ask relevant questions. So we cover the base here, and then we have plenty of time to ask more specific questions. Rakesh,
Thanks, Dheeraj. Thanks, Dheeraj.
You can keep on asking questions from the chat as well, so that we can take up the questions.
Yes. So we want these sessions to be highly informative, and there might be questions. So one can you can put your questions in the chat box so that we can explain the technology in great detail, so that so that we can have a better understanding of how the current technologies are moving towards plasma therapy, and what are the additional therapies that we can put forward to have a better clinical outcome. The current scenario is that as the number of patients increasing in the hospitals, the number of beds occupied by severe and critical patients, they are taking anywhere from around 14 days to a month to recover, which is kind of a big time gap, and the new patients are coming in, and the old beds are already filled. So there is a need. The need of the hour is to have a technology or a therapy which can improve the clinical outcomes faster, especially in the severe and critical cases where the patients are in ICU or they are already on ventilators. Globally, in UK, US, Australia, even in India and other places, plasma therapy, Germany, China, we have seen that people are already using plasma therapy, and this is not a new technology. This was discovered in 1916, I guess. I mean, Professor Amina can discuss more about it. But yes, this technology uses the serum or plasma from a recovered individual, and when you put the serum into a body of a critically ill patient or a severe patient, we have seen that the recovery is much faster. And because you give something from outside to fight the virus and boost the immune system, so that it recovers on itself. There are a lot of trials which have gone in the recent past and during the last couple of pandemics, and the results were quite well. But still, because these are non-drug therapies, people have not taken them seriously at this point at this juncture, when any vaccine or any drug which is almost 9 to 12 months away, depending only on remdesivir or hydroxychloroquine like drugs, which are just improving the conditions with people who already have some amount of immune response in their body. So Plasma therapy, yes, ICMR has also approved it. Clinical trials are going to start. But the technology that we have come across with the guidance of Professor Amin and Professor Al Jaziri and Professor Sunil, we were very surprised to hear that, first of all, that something like this exists. I tried to search a lot of Google things, and I didn't find nothing. But the amount of evidence Professor Jaziri gave was quite astonishing, that there is something which exists which can treat the diseases or make the conditions faster, stable faster, by using non-drug approaches also. So let's understand what is plasma therapy first of all. So as everybody knows now, a lot of newspaper clippings are there where you can read what is plasma therapy, but what is negative ion energy and how it's being used. So I'll direct my question to Professor Jaziri to tell about Professor Jaziri, what are these negative ions and how they actually work along with a kind of a direct therapy, or along with as an adjuvant therapy in plasma therapy, like COVID-19 patients or any viral infection. Professor Jaziri?
Negative ion is not a new thing. It is in the natures. You can find it anywhere. But the new thing in this type of the treatment, the concentration or the high ion therapy go through the body. This will first of all will enhance the immune function. This is what we need for the virus or any type of bacteria or anything, and to decrease the oxidative stress, what is coming from, or what is our living we are from, or what is there in the air condition or anything, drug or food or anything like that. And how this will be done? Neutralize the free radical by revitalize the cell membrane. This is all the negative ion is doing, by purify the blood detox. So if I did all of this, the immune system is very strong. And also it will give very good balance between the autoimmune nerve system and like that. And the most important in negative ion, if it's got to the blood, through the blood, it is increase the oxygen level. So the RBCs can take more oxygen. And how this will be done? Because the negative ion will stay on the surface of the RBCs. So by this mechanism, it can carry more oxygen. So it's and the circulation will be more, because negative with negative, they will push each other. More circulation, more oxygen, good immune. This is what we can fight with any type of disease.
Right. So as
this
I understand
is the negative ion doing. And in my country.
Yes.
In my country, I am in the government hospital in Dubai. We treat more than thousands of patients since 10 years. And we found this type of medicine and of this type of treatment, really it is amazing. And it helped the human in many type of disease, many critical cases, and all of this only by if I bring his immunity to the high level, and everything will be done by the immune system in the body.
So Professor Jazir, how this adjuvant therapy is given? What's the mechanism by which we're doing this?
Yeah, this is the beautiful of the negative ion. You can use it in many ways. So I am since 10 years, I use it in many ways to try, because if like what my friend, he said that if you go to the internet, you will not find anything to help you and all what they are using now, negative ion for the fresh air and like this. Yes, it is, but it's not strong. What they have, they have only like 3,000, 2,000 in each cubic centimeter. And this will not do anything, and it is unstable. But what we are using by millions. And these millions will give more concentration. And from the study we did, so we reached to the level that we need high ion, and if it's and the body will take what he needs. more than this, it will go out. He will not use it.
Right.
And this is the best treatment. And this one, the beautiful of negative ion, you can put it direct to the body, attach it by ECG pad or anything, and will go direct. And this is the best way, because all the negative ion will go through the body. But in the same time, we will connect to him earthing. So everything what go inside, it will come outside to the earth. This is what I found it after 10 years. This is the best way. But also, if you put anything in front of the device, so the ion can penetrate anything. So it will go to the blood, it will go through the body, it will go through, if there is a steel, it will penetrate. If anything, water or oil, it can embed it in the steel and the wood. And by the oil, by the water, by this one, I can transfer the negative ion to the body also.
So
you
which
don't have to
means
be
that,
in front of the body.
So which means that
Yes.
as we studied, recently, that a patient who is severely affected can have, viral particles up to 13 feet in the same room, in the aerosol, and around that room. So what you're saying is that along with the therapy to the patient, you can simultaneously, because the electrons concentration is so high, it can reduce the infection of the viral particles in the air as well around the patient, right?
Sure, 100%, 100%. Because I also I have another device. I put it in the big fan. So this fan, any air coming from this fan, it will fill the room. So for the big hole, so you can say a hole is bigger than 100 square meter. This fan is enough to kill all. And from what I know, that all the bacteria and the virus, they are positive ionized. So when they will attach to the negative ions, they will be neutral, and all of them, they will be on the floor. So there is nothing in the air. So I am using this one also for the patient with asthma. This is the best treatment.
Right. So Professor, I mean,
we use it in our country, and I found it's very good result.
Right. So, Professor, I mean, I have a question for you. That like you are on the front line when you were using this technology of negative ion along with the plasma therapy and some amount of phytomedicine. A combination of these treatments, how well they worked in China, and your experience in Germany. What kind of results that we have observed, and especially in the patients who were severe and critical, and how faster was the recovery, and what was the difference that you were seeing from a drug therapy to a non-drug therapy?
Yeah, thank you, Rakesh. I mean, it's a very nice experience to share. It's exactly 3 months the whole story started. I still think about the time from Wuhan. At that time, we did not know what would work. Now we have so many theories coming out, so many concepts coming out, right? So whatever we found, which will be able to take it as an antiviral. So that was a concept when it was started on 21st and 22nd of January, when I immediately called Dr. Jazili and said, look, we have so much of research work on antiviral, can we use it? So that's how the whole concept started. We had 6 groups. And now we cannot say, okay, we are not going to give you an antiviral drug, we are only giving you a device. So we combined, and there were 6 groups. At the end of the reporting, we got the 6 groups, right? So when we had the plasma with us. And also the recovered individuals in China, they are not so strong to have a large plasma. Now we needed some mode to make a better treatment and faster healing, because you have to empty the bed. That was a concept.
Yes.
It was not fast treatment. You have to empty the bed for another person to acquire. So now what do you do to empty the bed? That was the situation. Even now I get the goosebumps. Like, how do we do that? So some groups we tried phytomedicine because they cannot eat. So we started giving them those Chinese teas and other things. So that's how the groups got saturated. And what we saw is when they were using this device and then giving an ion therapy, like just putting it into the room also, sometimes they were getting better heal and they were going out. So then we did, okay, finally only this. And now we had the plasma, and some of them like who were on a baseline of recovery, we saw some of them recovered in 48 hours. So we had to empty the bed. recovery time duration, you were asking me to make a pie chart, right? Now what I was thinking is, when they went out of the bed, that is the duration of the time recovery now.
Obviously, yes.
We have to enter into the, we have to get the patient in the hospital and he has to go out. So what we saw was, when we are giving a combination, just giving it alone, it is not healing faster. Now, everybody wants a faster healing, obviously, to get better healing. Nobody wants to stay in the hospital. The stigma and the whole thing has been happening from 3 months. It's going worse day by day, right? So this, what we saw was, when there were no oxygen cylinders, giving an hyperion, they did not need the oxygen. So this became a concept for us that yes, it is increasing the oxygen in the blood, so you don't need much of oxygen, right? So this is how the stories have come out, and this is where we have got validated. Now we finally see that oxidative stress, like what Dr. Sunil and Dr. Jaziri, we have been trying to find out. So Dr. Sunil may be able to say us better because he has a huge experience in clinical pathology. How did it work? I have combined both of them together. And how did it work? My job was like, okay, trial and error. Yeah, this is not going to help. Okay. Sometimes funny things we were discussing with Iran. We get a sauce in Iran. We get a pomegranate sauce, we put it on salad. So what we have done is, we have taken licorice, pomegranate sauce, boiled with water, ionized, and given them to drink. See,
so means if you infuse these electrons in the water, also it can have a very good medicinal effect.
So now you see, you can keep the bottles there and we can start giving them a cup of it to drink. So now we are able to find out that it was a vehicle where pomegranate had certain things. Black seeds had, now they are coming out with the research papers, but we already went into the antiviral research activity of neem and turmeric, which was a huge good combination. But again, we have to see how to put it in the right quantity at the right time, combination. Everybody is giving plasma. Plasma therapy is way back in 1846, right, Dr. Sunil? It is still way back. It is not even, and ion therapy is still way back from the early 1947, 1945. You see, these therapies are there, but they have been used as an adjunct therapy because you see, one person comes, we give certain, it's a personalized treatment, right? How do you get an FDA for this?
Yeah, true.
Now we have to concise the whole concept, bring up a device and say, okay, this device given for certain hours, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, along with this and this, that's where we have to combine with the Indian ethnicity. Because again, Indian ethnicity, if you're looking at the Indian scenario, there is food, there is environmental factor. From one place to other place, there is totally difference.
Right.
So not only 6 groups, you'll have many groups. I think Dr. Sunil can continue.
So Professor Sunil, I have a question for you. How well this therapy can be, used along with plasma? You might have seen the ICMR new guidelines for the plasma therapy, the way they are going for the clinical trial. Yeah. And can it be done along with this trial if we create some groups and if some hospitals come forward? Is it easier to, just work in parallel with the plasma therapy using our device and see the results with only plasma therapy and plasma therapy plus negative ion, plus some amount of phytomedicine, obviously, to make the person more, the immune response to be more stronger. So can it be aligned, to a fully with the current guidelines of ICMR for the plasma therapy?
Yeah, so whatever is the plasma therapy is like a standard therapy, as Professor Attar told that. It was followed from, long years during many pandemics where there was no treatment as such, no proper treatment as such. The people used to take the convalescent plasma therapy who were already infected and they used to inject it. So basically we knew that these people who were infected were producing antibodies against the virus or thing, and then it is being given to as a ready-made kind of a thing on the platter to the patient, so that the patient has got ready-made antibodies which are potent enough to fight the virus and kill the virus. So that was the basic strategy which was used in the earlier days, and it was a common knowledge of most of the doctors in the medical fraternity at that point of time. Later on, like as Professor Attar was saying repeatedly, that this was there and even the negative ions thing was there. But now how did we conceptualize the whole thing as to put it in a one single, single platter or single concised way as to see how effective when both are put together with phytomedicines and other things. So we were in that direction because we have a pandemic situation where the beds are not enough to treat the patient, and we have to reduce the time where the patient are on the beds or on the ICUs. If we can decrease them, if we can decrease the time they spend in the hospital by decreasing the viral shedding and decreasing the criticality of the condition, and then they can go home and get better, that would be the ideal situation where we don't find much more load on the medical fraternity or on the hospital staff or on the hospital infrastructure. So probably that would be the best way where we can help to treat the patient and we can handle more patient load as such. That was the whole idea where Dr. Jaziri, Professor Attar, and me were thinking together as to how to do this, because this concept was there, and Dr. Jaziri was using this for a period of nearly 10 years. As he said, he had a huge experience of using this negative ion device, and Professor Attar has got a huge experience of handling this phytomedicine as well as also this kind of public health kind of a thing, and she has got a huge experience on this. So putting together, we said that let us see whether this will help to reduce the stay of people in the hospital and decrease the load on the medical fraternity as well as the infrastructure. So when we use this in multiple settings with this negative ions we found that the stay of the person in the hospital drastically reduced. To be very frank, it has drastically reduced. And they were able to go home very fast. The viral shedding had considerably reduced. That's one thing. The second thing is, the Professor Al-Jaziri also said that using it in the air, the beautiful thing of this negative ion device was, which Professor Al-Jaziri probably missed the thing was, it is virucidal. It can kill the virus. It basically punches the hole in the virus and kills the virus. So that was the one thing which is very, very important. Probably he just missed that. That's very, very important because it is virucidal. So because of its virucidal activity, so when it is given either in conjunction with the other therapies or alone by itself, is highly potent enough to kill the virus and make the duration of viral shedding to a very lower level, and actually make the patient well very fast. That's one thing. And as well as when we use it in the air in the hospitals and other settings where the load might be there, probably now they say even it is airborne, the virus is airborne, in droplet infection it is there, it can actually kill the virus. So probably it can be used as a dual kind of a function to clear the atmosphere as well as help the patient here. Yeah.
Right. And Professor Amin, I have one question for you that since this is used as an adjuvant therapy, are there any side effects that we see? Because as far as drugs are concerned, or any vaccine which has been looked into, since this is non-invasive and it's just electrons, a negative ions of electron, a kind of electron stream which is entering the body, do we see some amount of problems people are suffering, or any side effects that you might have seen which can be problematic? Because these people are already in ICU and serious, and some of them might be on ventilators. So what's your take on that?
Kindly unmute the thing.
Professor, you have to unmute your mic. She's not able to.
I think she has to unmute.
Yes. Now it's unmute.
Okay, sorry. Yes, exactly, Rakesh. Everything in excess has a side effect, right? Suddenly you cannot leave the device for more than 3 hours or 4 hours or something, and there is a side effect, because once what happens when you're taking the ions, you get dehydrated. Right, Dr. Jaziri, immediately you have to drink water. So there is a certain time limit, like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So there is a duration and a time limit, and also one has to get rehydrated immediately after this, right? So there are certain precautions which have to be taken. We have to be very careful. There are limited side effects, but even these can be monitored and managed. When you give an ion, whatever it is, anything in excess is dangerous. But what will happen, one good thing about this is, the body will take only as much as it is required. Right, Dr. Jaziri? it will not take excess. It will only stop saying, see, when you take these ions, for example, when I got the ions, only at a certain point of the tumor, it used to go there and I used to feel that pricking kind of a sensation. After a few minutes, it stops.
Right.
Well, one beauty of this, the body will take only how much it is. The second one is rehydration, and absolutely there are very minimal side effects and which we can manage.
Which means we have to just do some amount of dosage optimization and intensity.
Yes, exactly. The dosage optimization according to the basal metabolic index, according to the body size, according to whatever the diet they have taken, and also the intensity of the viral infection. If somebody has a viral load for more than 50 real-time PCR and then cannot breathe, we also need to see the other parameters, right? Increase the time limit. Here it is a time limit, 80,000 watts of ions, but it is a time limit, 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, which can be easily fixed with a timer.
So I have to open the floor for questions. Just one last question that is very important. How do we select the donors? Really, because I have seen that as per the methodology, which says that people who have got the drug therapy have developed the antibodies and they are used for convalescent plasma therapy. Is it correct? Or how fairly? Because I think that if they have got recovered due to drugs or due to a drug intervention, the number of antibodies will be less in their body and they won't be kind of a good donor to start the plasma therapy. A person who has a natural immune response to this virus should be the donors who have mild response or who doesn't show more of the symptoms. So correct me if I'm wrong here.
Rakesh. Exactly, you're there. See, this is one of the reasons the plasma therapy is working, but they are saying that why is it not working? You have already started getting the reports. Yeah, we had a donor, but we got it. But to be very, very specific, here in Germany, they have taken the donors who did not touch even paracetamol. In Germany, it's possible because they are not taking paracetamol or anything, and the body immunity is increasing. Like you see, the Turkish here are having more of the immunity, right? Compared to the German ethnicity. So what happens is there were a lot of donors, a lot of the Turkish community who had about the real-time PCR was just 20 to 22 and they recovered. So when they took the plasma, they validated the quantity of the antibody in the plasma. This is where we have to be precise. Not
so
like
we can quantitate the antibody.
I recovered, so I'm going to donate. It's not like that. I recovered and I'm going to donate. Maybe he is recovered with the given antibodies and his blood should have these antibodies, which may be a drug reaction. Like the genetic analysis, certain people react for certain drugs, right? So we should also check which are the antibodies present in the donor at that time. Maybe he has typhoid, maybe he has tuberculosis, we don't know what, and how the antibodies is working out, right? So we have been like saying that, okay, this is in Europe, it is easy because to find out, people immediately say, okay, I haven't touched antibiotics for 10 years. I precisely say I did not touch antibodies. I mean, antibiotics for last 7 years, I haven't taken any antibiotic. And you will say, because here it is confirmed that you have not taken. And how do you need to chart? So that's where is your challenge now.
I think let's ask, let's open
so
up
let me
for
open the
Q&A.
floor. Yes. So anybody who have questions, they can just ask their questions.
They can start chatting on the chat itself. That will be the best way to ask questions. So I think one question is around the recovery and contracting virus again. Dr. Meena, would you like to take that?
Yes, exactly. I would like to take that. Yes, of course, this virus will not go. That is what we got to know right from the day one in Germany. Right from the day one, this virus will be in the body. The minute the immunity drops, the virus will be active. This was clearly told to the complete German population. The virus will remain for at least 6 months and it will recover again. But how do you allow it not to recover is again one. So now you have old people who have recovered. We can give them the antibodies from our plasma ionized, not to get them again. Because once the immunity drops, obviously the virus will come out. There are only two things right now for the virus. Either you eliminate or you get the vaccine. You have to eliminate completely, and already it is into the community, right? It's just exactly like a flu. You have recovered the flu, you're very fine, you go out to work, and again there is somebody sneezing at you, and again you get it back.
Yes.
Again, you're triggering the virus which is in the body, maybe 1 or 2, somewhere it's dead, lying it just love the liver and it's still sitting in the liver and you don't even know. After again 14 days and 21 days, again it is coming back. So there is a course of 47 days. Dr. Jaziri knows the rule of 9. 7 9s, so 7 weeks of 9 days, 47 days, right? And this one happens like you have to be on a cycle, follow. So what the reports we are doing right now for the positive cases, you can see there are 160,000 positive cases in Germany. Recovery rate is 10,000 per day. So there are 7 tests done for one person. The one who was positive on first week of March is again being checked till now. So you can see the number of weeks, 7 weeks, 4 tests. So they will check till October whether he has the virus or not.
So this is very surprising. I mean, here, once a person is discharged, if they have 2 consecutive negative tests, they are being discharged and said that, they are recovered. I mean, which means that they can come up with the disease anytime in next 1 month or so.
Yeah.
Next 21 days or 21 to 47 days. That's a cycle.
Right.
So again, it may come back after 3 months. Just like a person has got typhoid or pneumonia, right? You have a typhoid virus, right? So you recover from that. But again, you find the danger. You still keep for 6 months. You still keep the person for 6 months, right? Okay, forget about that. Simple, in the broad man's or the layman's term, jaundice. What is hepatitis, right? Once the jaundice is recovered, for 6 months, they're still on the diet restrictions that again, it will come back. So if we have that concept, why are we missing this concept? So we have to take it as a long table course. We have to take it like, okay, now he's recovered 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. So till 9 months, you have to be sure.
Can I?
Yes, Dr. Sunil. Yes.
Yeah, I just like to add that because there was a few articles which were stating on that why there was a recurrence of the positivity of the virus after treatment. So there was an answer from one of the prestigious virologists from the Harvard University and also from the Oxford University. There are cases that they are people who are shedding the virus later in the disease also, but they are not infective. So they have come up with the thing that they were not infective, but they were shedding the virus, and the test which they had done was positive. So that was the one thing which they said. So later, that is, late shedding of the virus was still there, but it was not. They were not the potential carriers of who are like shedding the disease and who are spreading the disease was not seen in those kind of people. That's one thing. And the second thing, the most important thing, I think, this negative ionizer which they are using is a virucidal drug. It can kill the virus. It basically can kill the virus. So in that case, when it kills the virus, you find decreased virus shedding, and probably in an Indian scenario or in places where the pandemic is rampant and you don't have, let's just say, better medical facilities or such that, and it is stressed on, probably this kind of a device with the other medicines where you can find the virucidal effect, probably the viral shedding will be very less, and people, you will find it negative. That's one thing. So I think that will help in that way. And the antibodies, as I say, like usually we try to pool the plasma for a simple reason. We don't give it from a single donor for a simple reason. As you rightly said, the antibody response to the virus might not be as similar as in one person compared to the other person, depending upon his immune system. So the antibody response might not be so optimum in one person, but it might be optimized in one person. So we don't know about the immune status. In those cases, always they say is pooling of the convalescent plasma or the serum is always a better idea than using a single person's serum.
Right.
Yeah. So
there's one more question on the basic physics. When you say electrons are injected into the body, how exactly is that done using the device? I can generate electrons using a toy fly stick device as well. And where do these electrons get deposited on the RBCs? Does that? So this question was already answered by Professor Jaziri, but if you can give some more explanation, in a layman's language.
It's blood physics. Dr. Jaziri, your simple blood physics.
Right.
Yes, I know, but this is from the study I found it that the negative ion will stay on the RBCs, and say on the RBCs, put under the microscope. You remember, Professor Amina? We saw it under the microscope, how the different between before the treatment, after treatment, how the blood is moving, how the blood is, the RBCs is separate, and this is all we saw it under the microscope. And it is very important that when the negative ion will stay on the RBCs, it will do.
Yeah, I saw those videos.
things.
Yes.
Exactly, the question is there.
No, but-
The question that Dr. Jazari is saying that there is an electrostatic when you're rubbing, like you're just rubbing two, there is an electrostatic, right? So, if I take the hyperions for some time, you can, I think you can I'm just keeping my hand on my head, you can just see it's moving because I took a session today morning. So you can just see, I was just saying that I'm just keeping, you can see how it is electrostatically. So my body is charged now. It's not like I have got an electric shock, but my body is charged now. I just have to take 10 minutes of session just before we started, just for myself to calm down. Just like to be a little bit of thing. So what he's exactly saying, it's blood physics. Here you have the shape, like this is how Dr. Sunil says, like the concave shape of the RBC. And then there is an electron attached on this. So what happens is you have this, they are all abruptly like this. I'm just making it very simple. They're all abruptly like this. What happened? They get the oxygen, then they come like this and they easily move. They easily move into the blood circulation. So this helps, they're just like this. You saw the Rolex formation, right, Rakesh?
Yeah.
So when you take the ions, they immediately become like this, like a concave, and then they easily move.
Yeah.
So this is how.
So it's like the video we have seen that during
exactly,
a
just like
disease
that. So
condition.
it is just. I just want to keep it like this. See, you cannot move your hands. It is like this, right? It is
Yes.
tight. But when you just turn it like this, there is a gap in between. There is a gap here.
Mm-hmm.
Holding the oxygen. When you hold it like this, you can just try. There is nothing. So when you hold it like this, there is just a gap of oxygen there. So this makes it like a vehicle to move inside the circulation. It just easily moves. So then you have good breathing. Once in circulation and the metabolism. That's why he's saying physics, because then you measure the dimensions of the RBCs, the concave, that Dr. Sunil and he's doing it here with University of Edinburgh. We are trying to get it done here. So that is what the thing. That's how the concept is. It really takes a longer time.
No, this is good. This is good. I think I understand. Rakesh, could you
take up questions? Right. So
Yeah.
please go ahead.
So there's one more question. What's the percentage of people who have cleared the virus post plasma therapy? And how many days did it take for a recovery? Is the data published? Data we cannot publish right now because Chinese government has put a lot of restriction in publishing of any data. But yes, we can give some indications in terms of percentage and therapy recovery time. So as Professor Amin already said, the recovery time was anywhere around 48 hours. They have seen that people standing up from the bed, and the recoveries were much faster. The time spent in ICU was very small. Professor Amina, can you explain on only plasma therapy and along with hyperion? What's the a kind of a rough estimate that you may guess during your the complete 2,000 to 3,000 patients that you have handled? What would be the percentage of recovery?
See, the percentage of the recovery when you are giving the plasma and this, the duration of the recovery will be faster,
duration. Yes,
much compared. See, more than the percentage of the recovery, it was a duration of the recovery.
Yes, you're right.
More than for us to calculate how many people will get better, it was how many people will get out of the bed.
Faster,
See,
yes.
3 months from the situation of January last week, Dr. Sunil and Dr. Jazari said, I am mad going up till Bangkok, right? See, now we have a situation where we are thinking how many people can be recovered. Then how many people, what is the shortest time that people can recover? Here, what we have, the data, what we have seen is, those with hyperion plasma and those with negative ions like it was a combination for us to send the person out of the bed.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question, Professor.
So keep it around 60%. So keep it around 60%.
Yeah.
Sir, may I ask a question, please?
Yeah. HLA 27 condition is some people who already have an compromised immune system because the immune system is already overactive. So people who have HLA 27 positive condition, how would this therapy work there?
The 27 positive conditions what they have, right?
Like an autoimmune condition.
no, we cannot take the, I saw a question, can we take the donor with who has an already autoimmune disorder? No. See, now we have certain conditions. I'll just a little bit of an example. Every person is having certain genetic conditions, certain acquired conditions, certain environmental conditions, right?
Yeah.
It's not the 27 conditions. Totally, we have 3,236 conditions to evaluate this COVID. You cannot believe that this is how Germany is working on case studies where we have 3,000 parameters. We are looking at if this person had any hepatitis even during the childhood for the Asians who have been here, right? Not for the Germans.
Yeah.
So we have to look at the conditions right away, right now as an emergency COVID or for the further ones.
Dr. Ananta Krishna has a
You'll be
question.
surprised that we looked at a condition if a person had conjunctivitis last 5 years.
Yeah.
Believe
Rakesh, there's a question from
question
from Namrata on the implementation costs and how much is going to cost per patient. So Namrata, we haven't really decided on how much is going to cost for the patient, because we're still on the clinical trial in India, and then we have to see what are the other environmental things, what other infrastructure support required. Would that be a one-time service, or would that be recurrent? Obviously, there's only one device what we have in India right now. So I think we're just doing all the proper planning on that after the clinical trials are done. So we could come back to you on the commercial side of it. So Redcliffe is looking after the commercial side of it, and then we will come back to you, in a couple of weeks' time on that.
Hello everyone. Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Yeah. Regarding this one, regarding the ion therapy, this thing. So you are only concentrating on the half aspect of the immune system, isn't it? Because even cationic polypeptides also have an important role in antimicrobial therapy, because this is an enveloped virus. Okay, the envelope is taken from the host cell. So since it is taken, I'm a PhD in biochemistry, so kindly bear with me for some time. So since it is a enveloped virus, so basically that envelope is made up of various kind of fats, isn't it? So it is the fat is phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylethanolamine. All these are negatively charged. So when you are adding negative charge, it might or it might not have the effective impact. So cations also play an important role, the positive charge ions. So you maybe you need to expand your thing into even the positive charge also, apart from the anionic aspect. Anionic aspect also has the antiviral activity. So does the cationic activity. All these are innate immunity kind of the body. So that has to be expanded. And the second question is that now yesterday I was reading the Google News, and in France it was discovered that in the non-potable water the virus particles were there in the non-potable aspect. So they have stopped the entire water circulation in non-potable water. So the body fluids are contributing to the viral shedding, and the virus is entering into the water stream. So that is one scary proposition.
Dr. Anand, I think Dr. Sunil can do the first part.
And Dr. Sunil, if you can keep a little brief, I know this is a very scientific, but
Dr. Anand Krishna, what you said was right. The cationic part of the whole thing is also microbial as thing. What you said is right, but here the voltage which we are bombarding the whole thing, the negative ions, is at a voltage of nearly 15,000 to 20,000 volt. So if you use such kind of a high volt and you bombard the whole body with those kind of things, what is basically is going to happen is what we found it on the when we bombarded. See, we took a blood sample and we bombarded the whole thing with the ions, right? And we took it to the electron microscope, and then we looked at the virus. It was basically actually the virus had actually degenerated because there was a punching of holes on the whole of the virus capsule as such. So basically, when you give a negative ion with a high force, even though the surface of the membrane is negative, when you give it with a large force, actually it penetrates in such a deep way because of its reflexive. You know that because when even they are negative, it's like it is repulsive in case thing. When you give it with a great force, it actually punches the holes. This is a theory of biochemistry or physics. If you know that, it actually punches the holes in the.
So Professor Sunil, since this is already IP related, so we should not divulge more
You know,
details into it.
Rakesh, actually,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
very thing, when we did not want it, like Dr. Jaziri knows about,
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
2 years ago, today I met Dr. Jaziri. So today is our second anniversary.
So
No,
Anand,
anyways, I mean, we
when
can.
he gave me the ions, Rakesh, we bombarded it through the test tube, and so because I did not wanted to use human subjects and I'm against on using animals, so we
Yeah,
bombarded it to the bloodstream. So there we saw that how it works. We have recordings.
So
of
it's not only
on
immune
display.
effect, it also mechanically disrupts the virus
Yes.
and viral particles. So
It
there
breaks
are
the
so
virus.
even if you don't use it with plasma therapy, if you use it directly,
yes.
Yes.
in patients who are not very severe, they can also non-critical and critical, both applications are there for
Yes,
this.
yes.
I think Dr. Sunil, we saw about 4 CT values reduced, right? After
Yes,
bombarding
yes,
only for 10
yes.
minutes.
So
The video what we shared, right? We bombarded through the test tube.
yeah,
Only
any
after 10
hypertechnical
minutes of bombarding,
questions,
we saw that little thing.
yes, any hypertechnical questions we can take up later, because this will be related to something like kind of an IP issue. Let's see if we have
Rakesh,
more questions.
quickly let's take those questions which we missed earlier. Okay, so that nothing is missed. We are extending the call to 5:15, so
Yeah,
we'll have more time. Let's take all the questions.
So there was one question: bombarding with high energy electrons. Does one ensure specificity? We cannot do that right now, because then it will divulge more details on the IP on this machine.
Yeah.
So let's not take this
One
up right
question
now.
was Rakesh around can we use it as a preventive therapy? I think that was
Yes.
That is 100%, 1000%.
Yeah. So
Believe me, I carried one device for myself personally, and I don't even think of anything. I just put the ions. Dr. Jaziri knows that I even ionize my watermelon juice. I ionize the water, preventive, not only for COVID, for all of us who are under stress.
So the answer is that yes, we can use it for preventive.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
That is 100%. Didn't see if for example, the healthcare staff who is going into it, if it is not COVID, they will have stress because of post-traumatic stress disorder. Obviously, when there is stress, the serotonin levels are all altered. They are just playing like anything, and that's the reason a lot of healthcare are getting affected.
So
right, they are.
Yes.
So
Let's take up questions faster. So there is one question which is very important. Professor Amina, when you were treating these patients with high energy, negative ion energy, and along with plasma and some phytomedicine, how you were making sure that the viral particles got cleared? What percentage of what this was? Because they came out of the bed, okay. But till what time did you kept following with an RT-PCR or any kind of sequencing results to see whether the virus particles are there in the body or not?
One test we have done with the transmission electron microscope to have a look at it. Unfortunately, I cannot share the videos and the data. So we can do the same thing under transmission electron microscope, where you can see how it is being bombarded, right, Dr. Sunil? That is what we want.
No, not about the technology. I mean, I'm asking after the virus clearance. From the body, how we have identified that yes, this person has got treated, no symptoms, and from his body the virus has been eliminated. How we have made sure? How did we check?
It's real-time PCR.
Real-time PCR, right? Okay.
It's real-time PCR. See, right now we cannot take every sample and see through the transmission electron microscope. The only thing is the real-time PCR, because even the antibody kit will not work, because real-time PCR and the values should be kept preferably. See, when you recover, it is not 30 or 40 or something like that, right? So we have to see till it gets below 20.
Below 20, the CT value.
Till it gets below 20. Below 20, okay, fine, the body can manage. But 35 to 40 is positive or negative. Like how in India you're just doing positive or negative. The values has to be saturated there, specific, precise. But I know the population, it will be very difficult.
Yeah, so there's one more question. People globally have responded variably to coronavirus infection. India seems a little less vulnerable to this infection compared to their global counterparts. Are there significant differences in the way people respond to plasma therapy? How well are Indians likely to respond? Yes, they are well equipped. So, Professor Amina, can you
I think Dr. Sunil knows better. We are well equipped.
Yes. We are very well equipped with this.
Red Cross. See, I am with the Red Cross. I knew this plasma therapy only by the...
Yeah, Professor Sunil has a lot of experience in Red Cross.
Okay, only with the Red Cross. Every person is donating blood in the Red Cross. Every Red Cross has equipment where you can separate plasma. It is their job to do it.
Yeah. So how well we are equipped?
See, it is very easy. We have a small little knife in every house. But still, if somebody markets that this is a nice knife made in Germany, then you take it.
Dr. Amina, the question was how Indians
Dr.
likely
Sunil
to
can say
respond to
this.
the therapy.
Yeah, I'll take that question. I'll take that question. Now, what we have seen is like the initial part was like how can we have a plasma which has got an adequate antibody response? And for that question, I told you like basically like Indians are, you know that Indians are resistant to most of the bugs which are there, like either the virus or the bacteria. We are very very resistant to all those things, and most of us have a good immunity power as such. That is why we are not seeing so much of drastic kind of a effect of the virus on Indian population. That's one thing. The second thing is how well is the plasma therapy working for Indian thing. It again depends upon the person's ability to develop the antibody response, the immunity response to the virus, and probably it might be based on the person to person variation depending upon his immune status. That's one thing. The better way which I would which most of the people with whom I had talked to them was better is to pool the plasma where it can compensate if somebody's immune response is not that adequate and there is little bit of less antibody in one person. Pooling of plasma would rather better help by making a little bit more of antibodies in the plasma which we are giving it to the patients. So that's one thing.
Sure.
And the second,
would it affect the acid base balance? Would you think it will not affect any hemostats process? That's another question.
No, that would not. Because when we are using plasma, because in Tetros, basically when we worked in Tetros, we know that we will be collecting around say 5,000 to 6,000 donors. Blood units, and we used to separate into plasma, RBCs, and platelets. So many a time, what we have seen this is like it would be done under proper norms. Proper after doing all this tests for mandated by NACO, then DCGI, and now I think ICMR also has put some kind of clauses for doing this protocols for plasma testing. Right.
Let's take another question.
Yeah, Dr. Jitendra, Rakesh, this was a very first question about the genome of this corona is changing. So this plasma therapy, is that related to any specific strain as such?
No, any virus for that matter in a pandemic, it is known that when it is
Well,
passing.
if there is no pandemic, right?
Yeah, usually when it passes from many people, there is bound to be some effect of change in the genomic structure as such. But basically, the genome which is there, it will still be maintained as such. But there might be a little bit of change in the genomic structure because in pandemic, when it passes through a stream of hosts, it is known to change. That is there.
Yeah. So another question is, are there any portable devices? Yes, this device is a portable device, very easy to use, and it can be used on the bedside along with any other instrument. So we have seen the videos, we have seen the working of this technology, very easy and very, anybody who is, kind of a basic degree in medical can also, handle this equipment.
Yes.
Another question is, UK ICU data suggests that Afro-Caribbeans and Asian minorities seem to be affected more. Was there a difference in response based on ethnicity in your trials on plasma therapy? So, Professor Amina, what ethnicity we took in terms of the patients who were recruited in Shanghai and Germany, and did we see any difference in terms of?
In Shanghai, the ethnicity were all the Asian ethnicity, Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis.
Right.
Obviously, that was the best part of it because the whole place where they were is like the complete building was a makeshift for the students from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh who are studying in the 5 universities of China.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them from Urumqi and Guzon and Wuhan, because all of the non-Chinese were brought to a place where the medical students, because there were no flights moving around. So in China, it was the most of them, 95% were of
Asian ethnicity, right.
Okay. And in Germany, the plasma therapy has been with the German ethnicity, Turkish ethnicity. There is no ethnicity like that in Germany, because here regularly the Germans go and donate blood in the German Red Cross. And the plasma therapy has been given regularly. Dr. Jaziri knows, he was in 1990 in Germany, so he knows that there are no vaccines in Germany. And the only thing they do is the plasma they give the plasma as the shots for immunity. So there are plasma donors here. For example, somebody recovered from a disease without medication, they go and donate saying that, yes, there is an immunity passport here.
Right.
You have a card. There is a card given to all of us.
Wow. We should also have that. So related to this, Namrata has asked a question that everybody is saying that Indians have better immunity. Even AIMS doctor says this. Is there any paper or statistics that shows this, or that we have better immunity compared, and what they have compared it with?
Unfortunately, I am always having a conflict with Dr. on this. I say Indians are more anemic, and how can you be more immune? We have anemia, like, yes, they are immune because we already are taking like Kalonji, black seeds and other things. Yes, we have to, I think, Dheeraj, you have to go in for a rapid genomic studies to prove that the Indian genome sequencing has certain genomes which combat to certain diseases, right? So probably we have not done that, and that would be a very good venture for Rakesh and Ashwin and Dheeraj to go ahead and prove that Indian ethnicity with certain diet and certain lifestyle has a certain immunity. So yes, of course, that Dr. Jaziri also, like, we use turmeric and use the spices, like for us it is a part and parcel of our life.
Right.
So
Arun also has a question. What's the difference?
Just to correlate with the Iran experience, what I had. When I was in Iran, I was like craving for the smell of ginger, the simple, which is very easily available. I was craving for the smell of ginger because I did not carry it for a week. So first thing I came back, I just took the ginger. I was smelling ginger at the minute I came back to Germany. And we have so many varieties and papers already. We have been doing that. It is an anti-inflammatory, antiviral, neem and ginger. So Dr. Jaziri also accepts that neem is an antiviral. He asked,
Professor Amina, we have to be a bit quick here.
Quick.
So the next question is, was there a difference based on, Arun has asked a question, response based on ethnicity? Arun, we have not, this was tried only in Shanghai and Germany to some extent. We had only Asian ethnicity people there. So anyways, a clinical trial has to be done in India to see what's the actual response here. From Milan, there is a question that ICMR has approved clinical plasma therapy. In Delhi hospital, 2 patients were administered. One was an old person and one was a younger person. The younger person survived. So what are the things that we need to take care before agreeing to plasma therapy? So I think I can take this question that because of, older people have, lesser immunity, and if there is any comorbid condition which is already there are chances that we are already late to infuse plasma, because the plasma therapy is something where it needs to be done at a very, very early stage. Once you see a person having comorbid condition or underlying condition, or the age factor is a thing, plasma therapy should be the first therapy given to them, along with any drug that you're giving. So it won't hamper it. So any take on that, Professor Amina?
Sunil should answer this because he's the best person to give it, like, why it is happening. Yes,
the one thing is, like, as we know that ICMR already categorized people into critical, who can go for a critical kind of a scenario and all those things. They have made it into A, B and C kind of a category as such. And basically, like, you also seen there is a higher mortality rate in older people, more than 60 years. You have seen it little bit of a more rate, and most of them did have a comorbid condition there. So we saw that there was a comorbidity in those people who succumbed for this kind of things. So we have a scenario in old people where there's comorbid conditions, lack of immunity, as Rakesh rightly said. Plus, they are also receiving, they might be having uncontrolled diabetes or any other, hypertension and all those things. And also probably a respiratory condition where they are prone for, more complications. So probably in those people where we anticipate a critical condition going for ICU, is probably initial treatment, in a very rigorous manner would be probably the norm of the day. So I think that would be the thing. Yes.
So there's another question from Sandeep Reddy. How can we take this forward into other countries like in UK? We are already in discussion with NHS, and we will be presenting it very soon. So let's see. It should start because they're also gearing up for plasma therapy. It has been approved, and we
Yeah, back
are-
here in the UK, I think NHS is very aggressive, and
yes,
I
they are
think,
going to take it very fast. Yeah.
yes, and we plan to approach to them towards the middle of this week.
So, so there is
By the way,
one
we are
more-
also sharing the press release on the chat itself, so some people can pick it up from there. And quickly, Rakesh and others, we need to take few questions which are coming outside of the chat as well. There's only 3 to 4 minutes left.
Yes, anybody can ask questions directly. You can now, the floor is open now.
Yeah, no, there are.
One
For
by
example,
one
there
you
is
can
this
ask
question which we have received outside of this chat. It says the same question. It talks about percentage of cases who have recovered, percentage of cases who got completely cured, and what was the method used. So method used is RT-PCR, I believe, and around 60% of the cases which we already answered got scores less
Yes.
than 20, which means got cured in less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
And the rest.
Dhiraj, let us put it as recovered then cured. There is
Yeah.
a huge difference.
Yes, Amir.
Recovered then cured.
Yeah.
Let us put it as, sorry for interrupting, let us put it as recovered with the present contamination, because we don't know after 1 week what contamination they will come up with.
That's true.
Definitely. Definitely.
Can I add something?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, Professor Jaziri. Yeah.
Yes, it's very important. I want, when you treat the patient, I want to see the blood group of the patient.
Exactly.
Because this is very important from the experience of 10 years. I found it, the negative ion is working very fast for the patient with the O positive, and number 2 is A positive, more than the P positive.
Right.
And also
Result
with O
in
negative,
all
Dr. Jaziri.
Huh?
Also with O negative, it immediately you feel in O negative, but the B positive blood group, they are not feeling. So we need to work out further on this. That's where we were collaborating.
Yes, but when I add for the patient with the earthing, so little bit the healing, it was faster. But
Wow,
O
okay.
positive is the best one, is amazing result with the O positive and A positive.
Right.
This is what I found from my study.
And one
Any
more
other
thing
questions?
and one more thing to just add to Dr. Jazir is, if the person has got any electrical devices which is such as a pacemaker and all those things, they might not be able. Yeah, they might not be able to use these negative ions because it might cause a problem with the pacemakers. So
Yes.
this is one of the contraindications probably.
We have certain
and-
parameters set, like the inclusive and the exclusive criteria. So we also have, like I said, what are the side effects? Everything comes with certain limitations,
Also, I don't use it for the pregnant lady.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And what about people who have implants, like in their body, implants?
No problem.
metal
Still,
implants?
anything is any device with the battery. I tried with the people with the device with the battery. Nothing happened. But still,
Right.
I don't want to use it with these type of people because I don't know what will happen.
Mhm.
But it has been given as excellent results in polycystic ovaries, and also post-natal management. That is the strength. We have already a paper online, but as we are not publishing it, another 3 months, I will not publish it. So.
Okay, so to answer Dr. Mill, as someone has asked, ICMR in India has only approved plasma therapy for. Okay, so to take that answer, we'll be working with ICMR now on the protocol for this particular treatment as well, which will be designed keeping in mind all the concepts and what are the reports coming in from different data-driven reports, results. So yes, so protocol has to be designed accordingly for ICMR approval.
Right. So I think we are at the end of this session. Any question that one or two questions which we can take based on technology or anything?
There are quite a few questions which are unanswered also, but let's
yeah, I mean those are basically on the virus functioning. Like there is one question
let's
that
not get into the hypertech right now. It will.
Yeah. We can always give that once we have a complete guideline set along with the IMR, ICMR experts, and how we are selecting the donors, how we are selecting the patients, what are the groups that we have to create. We have to create multiple groups which are receiving plasma therapy, drug therapy, non-drug therapy, or all three of them together, and then come out with the results. So this has to be taken forward with the ICMR and the drug controller. Once it's approved, then we can make everything official.
There's more questions coming in. Do you want to take it? Any symptom that may come after 14 days of virus being in the system?
Sometimes we are seeing asymptomatic, so we can't even say whether it will come back after 14 days of the virus, because obviously it has a name, novel coronavirus. Novel means we don't know what is the course. It's just like the Nile River who changes the course.
Yeah.
So we have to just wait, only time. And we just have to wait. We have to analyze, observe the data, collect the data, document it. The best part is like Dheeraj and his whole team, the way they are documenting it, bringing all of us together. I think that's an immense job what they have done. I think before we end the thing, Rakesh and Dheeraj and Ashwin, all of you, bringing up such a concept in a country like India.
It's very important. Yeah.
Huge population, you know. I'm just like admirable. Yes, the population in Germany, in UAE, it's small compared. But taking up these challenges with ethnicity, with phytomedicine, you know, there are so many names. In China, it's only traditional Chinese medicine. But again, bringing turmeric is turmeric. Again, the phytochemical part of it, and how we deal with the whole non-invasive. Something invasive, immediately, you know, just with 30 patients, FDA has cleared. Which is too surprising for me. Every day for us, for me and Dr. Jaziri and Dr. Sunil, every day for us, a new person comes, it is a new case for us. We hit on it again and again, but I think the whole team coming here together and this discussion, thank you Dheeraj for this whole discussion. Obviously, you know, bringing Dr. Jaziri and Dr. Sunil and all of us, because we have been working, and now thank you so much for bringing us to make it as a whole team. So maybe together we win. That is what we always say.
So Dheeraj, what I will do is I will close the officially now. Right?
So final comments from Dheeraj. I think with Professor Jaziri being here, and we can, you know, talk about him. So Dheeraj, can, you know, give some closing remarks on this?
No, thank you so much for everyone to be listening, and obviously, you know, amazing list of questions, and I know we can carry on like this. But what we would do, both Radcliffe Life Sciences and Sapio Analytics would find another platform to, you know, continue answering some of these questions. I think our responsibility right now is to work with the regulator and the government to really put the whole framework on the clinical trials. And this opportunity, this platform was to open up this conversation. And I think those who are listening you're the first one in India to actually know about it. I mean, thank you, Ashwin, for putting this platform. Thank you, Nana, for you know, having your colleagues from the media industry to come in. Thank you, Dr. Al-Jaziri. At the first place, you invented, and we're honored and privileged to have you know, someone like you to support us here in India. Ma'am, I think you have been very bold and brave to actually go and lead the whole research and clinical implementation together with Dr. Sunil Nayak. I think we're all sitting in a different part of the world, but we're trying to come together and help each other as much as we can. Thank you, Rakesh, as well, for moderating such a beautiful session. So thank you to everyone from Radcliffe Life Sciences.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.